I've never been the kind of guy to jump to conclusions or to suspect my wife Lisa of anything shady. We'd been married for 7 years, and honestly, I thought we had a solid, normal life. She was a little bitchy sometimes, sure, and she liked to lie about small things, like claiming she was working late when she was out with friends, or saying she was at yoga when I caught her sneaking out the back door of our house. But I always brushed it off, told myself maybe she just had her own reasons. Lately, though, something felt off. She'd get snippy over small stuff, like the way I left my clothes on the floor or forgot to pick up her favorite pasta from the store. The biggest red flag was how she started coming home late more often, and her phone became her new best friend. She'd hide it when I came into the room, and I'd catch her quickly slipping it into her purse if I looked over. She'd brush me off, say I was being paranoid, or accuse me of snooping. Honestly, I didn't want to believe she was cheating on me, but I couldn't really ignore all the signs anymore. One night, I decided to follow her after she said she was going to a girls' night out with her friends. I didn't want to come across as some crazy husband, but I had this nagging feeling that she was hiding something. I figured if she was just going out, then no harm in watching her from a distance. She left the house around 8 p.m., and I waited until she was out of sight before I got into my car and followed her. She drove to a part of town I didn't recognize, an older neighborhood with small houses and a bunch of bars. I parked a few blocks away and watched her walk into a place that looked like a dive bar. I felt my stomach tight. I was already thinking the worst. She was supposed to be with her friends, so who was she meeting here? About an hour later, I saw her come out with a guy I'd never seen before, tall, skinny, with a scruffy beard. They weren't holding hands, but they looked comfortable. She leaned in to kiss him on the cheek, and I swear I saw her whisper something that made him laugh. The sight made me feel like I'd been punched in the gut. I stayed in my car, trying to process what I just saw. I wasn't exactly naive, but seeing her with some other guy like that, it was like a punch to the face. I thought about confronting her then and there, but I wasn't sure what good it would do. Instead, I drove home, trying to hold back this wave of anger and confusion. Once I got back, I sat in the dark for a while, replaying everything I'd seen. How could she do this? How long had she been cheating? And who was this guy? That's when I remembered something I'd heard from a friend. Lisa had recently started talking about her AA sponsor, a guy named Mark who was about 50 but looked 10 years older. She'd been going to some meetings regularly, and she always said it was just for her sobriety. But the way she acted around him, flirty, dismissive of me, made me suspicious. I knew she'd lied about some of her meetings and that she'd been secretive about her phone. That night I couldn't sleep. I knew I had to find out more before I could even think about talking to her. I needed evidence, solid proof. I spent the next few days digging around, watching her routines and listening to rumors from her friends. Then, out of nowhere, things took a sudden turn. I didn't expect what I found next, and that's what really set everything into motion. A few days after I saw her with that guy, I was cleaning out some drawers in the bedroom trying to distract myself when I found her phone lying face down on the bed. I'd been trying to resist snooping, but something about that moment pushed me over the edge. I picked it up, unlocked it with her passcode, something I'd known for years, and started scrolling through her messages. I wasn't even consciously trying to find anything specific. I just needed to know if she'd been lying more than I already suspected. And then I saw it, a text chain that made my stomach drop. It was her texting someone named Mark, the same name as her AA sponsor, flirting, joking, and even making plans to meet up. I couldn't believe what I was reading. She was talking about how much she missed him and how she couldn't wait to see him again. The messages weren't just friendly, they were blatantly suggestive, dripping with an intimacy I'd never seen from her before. It was like she was hiding a whole other life from me. My hands trembled as I read more. She mentioned their secret and how it was so hard to keep it from everyone, especially me. I felt a bitter mix of rage, heartbreak, and disbelief. How long had she been lying? It wasn't just a one-time thing, was it? My mind raced. I thought about all those late nights, the excuses, her phone always being glued to her hand. She told me she was committed to her sobriety, but all along she'd been sneaking around behind my back with her sponsor's son, who just turned 21. I sat there in the dark, staring at her screen, clutching her phone so hard I thought I might crush it. The betrayal was worse than I'd imagined. Not just cheating, she'd lied about everything, about her meetings, her sobriety, her feelings. She'd been playing me all along, and I didn't even realize it until I saw this. I felt like my world was shattering under me. The next step was clear. I had to confront her. I knew I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. I waited until she was supposed to be at her book club, which I later found out was just a cover for her secret meetings. I hadn't planned exactly what I'd say, but knew I had to get her to admit everything. When she got home that night, I was already waiting in the living room, her phone in my hand, the evidence laid bare on the coffee table. She walked in, looking irritated as usual, but her face froze when she saw the phone. Her eyes darted around, trying to find an escape route. I didn't hold back. I threw the phone down, looked her straight in the eyes, and asked, "Who the hell is Mark? And what the hell have you been doing with him?" Her reaction was immediate. She rolled her eyes, scoffed, and started lying her ass off. She told me she was just helping him with his sobriety, that he was struggling, and that everything else was just stupid rumors. She claimed I was paranoid, insecure, and that I did trust her, but I wasn't buying it. I could see through her bullshit. Her body language, her quick lies, the way she avoided eye contact, all of it screamed guilt. I felt my blood boil. How could she lie so easily? How could she betray me like this after everything we'd been through? I wasn't just hurt, I was furious. It was the kind of betrayal that cuts deep, the kind that makes you question everything about your marriage, your wife's character, her feelings for me. The woman I thought I knew was nothing but a con artist hiding her secret life behind a mask of bitchy lies and false smiles. That night I couldn't sleep again. The betrayal kept replaying in my mind, and I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs. How did I not see it coming? I'd always trusted her, and now I felt so betrayed, so stupid for ever believing she'd be faithful. I was angry, yes, but also deeply sad. Sad that I had been blind to her deception all this time. I kept wondering if she'd ever really loved me, or if I was just convenient, someone she kept around while she did. Her real life on the side. The shock was intense, and I knew I had to decide what to do next. Because once you find out someone you love is cheating, everything changes, and there's no going back to the way it was before. After that confrontation, the air in the house was thick with tension. Lisa, true to form, started spinning her usual web of lies, acting like I was the crazy one for even bringing it up. She threw her hands up and said I was overreacting, that Mark was just a sponsor, that her meetings were purely about her sobriety, and that I was paranoid because I didn't trust her. She called me controlling and jealous, as if I was the one in the wrong for finding out the truth. But I wasn't buying her bullshit anymore. I saw her for what she was, a manipulative, lying bitch who thought she could get away with anything. I felt a rush of every possible emotion: anger, betrayal, disappointment. It's like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, about to fall into a pit of despair. I didn't want to cry, didn't want to break down, but inside I was shattered. How could she do this? How could she lie so effortlessly? And what was worse, she was playing the victim now, trying to twist the facts and make it seem like I was the problem. That's classic Lisa, always twisting things around to suit her narrative. I decided I couldn't just let this go. I needed a plan, something to really make her feel the weight of what she'd done, to make her understand that trust was gone. I started digging deeper, trying to find out how long this had been going on. The texts I found showed they'd been sneaking around for months. I learned that Mark, her so-called sponsor, was not just some sober mentor, he was her secret lover's father. That's right. Mark, the guy she was sending messages to, was the father of her 21-year-old affair partner, Jake. I swear, the whole thing was almost too unbelievable to process. I sat there one night, staring at her phone, trying to piece everything together. How the hell did she think she could get away with this? That her lies would hold forever. I felt a mix of disgust and rage. I realized this betrayal was bigger than just some affair. It was a full-blown scandal that touched every part of her life and mine. I was angry at myself for not seeing it sooner, but I was also furious at her for dragging me into this mess. I knew I had to do something drastic. I couldn't just confront her and hope she'd come clean. No, I had to get proof, undeniable evidence, to make her realize I wasn't going to be played anymore. So I started recording her calls, saving messages, and even secretly installing a little recorder in her car. Whatever it took. I wanted her to see that I was serious, that I wasn't going to be a cuckold for her lies and manipulation. One evening, I had everything lined up. I sat her down again with a calm but firm tone. I played her recordings, showing her the truth, the voice messages, the flirtatious texts, the secret meetings. I watched her face turn pale, her eyes darting around trying to come up with an excuse. But I wasn't having it. I told her plainly, "You've been lying to me for months. You've been cheating on me with your sponsor's son, Jake, and you've been hiding it all behind your so-called sobriety. Well, I've got the proof now." Her reaction was everything I expected, a mix of denial, anger, and that sneering, bitchy attitude she always had. She spat out a bunch of lies, claiming she never meant for it to go this far, that she was just lonely, that she didn't love Jake, that it was just sex, and that I was overreacting. She insisted she loved me, that she'd never wanted to hurt me, but I could see through her lies. She was trying to save herself, spinning her web even tighter. That moment was the tipping point. I saw her for what she truly was, the kind of woman who'd lie and cheat, who'd manipulate her way out of anything, even the truth. I felt the cold realization settle in that my marriage was over, at least for now. I wasn't going to be her pawn anymore. I had all the proof I needed, and I knew I had to decide what came next. Honestly, I was exhausted, worn out from all the lies, and ready to walk away if that's what it took. Because once you catch someone in a betrayal like that, everything shifts. You aren't the same person anymore, and sometimes there's no fixing what's broken. The fallout was even messier than I expected. After I laid everything out, showed her the recordings, the texts, the pictures I'd taken of her messages, I thought she'd break down, beg me to forgive her, or at least try to deny it some more. Instead, she just stared at me with that same bitchy sneer, trying to act like I was the crazy one. "You're overreacting," she said, rolling her eyes. "It's not what you think. You're just insecure like always. You're making a mountain out of a molehill." That's Lisa for you, blame shifting, deflecting, acting like she's the victim. But I wasn't buying it. Not anymore. I told her she could pack her shit and leave. I was done pretending I didn't know her true colors. I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness, but mostly anger. How could she do this? How could she betray me so blatantly, and then try to gaslight me into thinking I was crazy? I wanted her gone. I wanted her out of my house, out of my life. At that moment, I knew I'd never trust her again. The woman I loved, the woman I married, she was a liar and a cheater, plain and simple. She didn't go quietly, though. Lisa threw a fit, screaming that I was overreacting, that I was ruining everything because I was jealous and insecure. She called me names, told me I was a pathetic control freak, and accused me of trying to ruin her life. I just stood there, watching her blow a gasket, feeling like I was finally waking up from a bad nightmare. It was disgusting, really. The way she tried to turn everything around on me like she was the victim. I wanted to slap her, but I knew that wouldn't help. Instead, I calmly told her she needed to leave and never come back until she figured out what she really wanted. She stormed out, yelling that she'd be back, that she was going to fight for her marriage. But I knew better. I knew she'd already made her choice. That night I slept alone in the bed I still owned, alone with my thoughts, my anger, and a profound sense of betrayal. I kept replaying everything in my head, how I missed the signs, how I couldn't believe she'd do this to me, to us. For a while I felt lost, like my whole world was crumbling. But deep down I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I finally saw her for who she really was, an untrustworthy, manipulative wife who'd been lying to me for months, maybe longer. The following days were awful. She kept texting, trying to apologize, pretending she still cared. But I didn't want apologies. I wanted the truth, and I got it. I found out she'd been cheating on me with Jake, her AA sponsor's son, for almost a year. A full year. That's longer than I had even suspected. I also discovered that she'd lied about her sobriety, that she'd been sneaking around behind my back, and that her meetings were just cover stories for her secret affair. Every time I thought about it, my stomach turned. All this time I'd been trying to support her, to trust her, and she'd been screwing around with a kid who was barely old enough to drink. I'd never felt so humiliated, so angry, so betrayed in my entire life. But I also knew I had to take control of the situation. I contacted a lawyer, started planning how to get my life back together. I told her she wasn't welcome back until she sorted herself out, until she decided if she was truly done lying and cheating or if she still wanted to play games. Honestly, I didn't think I could forgive her. Not now, not ever. I just wanted to get out of this toxic mess and find a way to rebuild myself. Looking back now, I realize I've learned a lot. I learned that sometimes the signs are there but you don't want to see them. I learned that no matter how much you love someone, if they're lying and cheating with someone half their age, it's a betrayal that cuts deep. And I learned that sometimes the only way to heal is to cut ties completely. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I'm better off without her. Trust is gone, and I'm not about to keep chasing a ghost of a woman who's already gone forever. The weeks that followed were a blur of legal meetings, packing up her things, and trying to regain some semblance of normalcy. I stayed in the house for a while trying to figure out what was real and what was just a nightmare. Every corner of the place reminded me of her, her perfume in the bathroom, the shampoo she used, the little notes she left on the fridge. It was all so suffocating. I'd catch myself thinking, how did I miss all of this? And then I'd feel this deep, aching sadness. But more than anything, I was angry, furious that she had betrayed me so completely, that she'd lied and cheated behind my back for so long. I remember one night, sitting at the dining table with a beer in hand, staring at the pile of her belongings I was about to pack away. That's when it hit me just how much she'd manipulated me. The way she'd lie so effortlessly, the way she'd tell me she loved me even as she was sneaking around with Jake. It made me realize something painful. I'd been so blind, so naive, thinking we had a normal, happy marriage. But beneath the surface, there was chaos. A woman who was willing to do anything to hide her secrets, even if it meant destroying everything we built. I started to see that this wasn't just about some affair. It was about her character, her integrity, or lack thereof. I'd trusted her, and she'd betrayed that trust in the worst way. Yet as much as I was angry and hurt, I knew I couldn't let myself be consumed by that rage forever. I had to find a way to move on, to rebuild my life. The first step was to cut out everything that reminded me of her, so I changed the locks, got a restraining order, and made sure she couldn't come back. I wanted her out of my life for good. What really pushed me to keep going was the realization that I deserved better. I'd given her so much, my love, my support, my honesty, and in return I got lies, betrayal, and a lifetime of questions. But I wasn't about to let her define my future. I started focusing on myself, working out, reconnecting with friends I'd neglected, even picking up new hobbies. Honestly, it was the hardest thing I'd ever done, but also the most necessary. Because I knew that if I stayed stuck in the pain, I'd never heal. One thing I can say for sure is that this experience changed me, probably forever. I learned that even the person you trust the most can turn out to be the biggest liar. I learned that sometimes people will do terrible things for selfish reasons, and you have to be strong enough to walk away. I also learned the importance of self-respect, knowing your worth, even when it feels like your world is falling apart. It's funny how adversity can teach you those lessons in the harshest ways. Now, I'm slowly rebuilding my life. I've started dating again, though I'm cautious. I don't rush into anything because I know now how fragile trust is. I've also cut out the toxic people who enabled her, and I focus on people who genuinely support me. I don't hold any hatred for her. I think I forgave her, not because she deserves it, but because I need to let go of that anger to move forward. I've accepted that sometimes people are just damaged, and the best thing you can do is walk away and find your own happiness. Looking back, I wish I'd seen the signs sooner, but I also know I can't change the past. All I can do is learn from it and protect myself from falling into the same trap again. My advice: trust your gut but don't ignore the red flags. And if someone turns out to be a liar and a cheat, don't waste your time trying to fix what's broken. Walk away, rebuild, and find your happiness somewhere else. Because in the end, that's what really matters. taking care of yourself and not letting betrayal define your life. Looking back now, I realize how much this whole ordeal has changed me. I used to think trust was the foundation of any good relationship, but now I know better. Trust is earned, and if someone proves they're untrustworthy, no amount of begging or promises will fix that. Lisa's betrayal wasn't just about cheating. It was about her lying, manipulating, and taking me for a fool for over a year. That kind of betrayal leaves scars, but it also teaches you a lot about yourself. Throughout this process, I've learned to value myself more. I've developed a sharper sense of boundaries and a clearer idea of what I want in a partner, someone who's honest, respectful, and loyal. I used to think I was lucky to have her, but now I see that I was actually lucky to get out before I lost my mind or my self-respect completely. I don't hate her anymore, at least not in the way I did in the beginning. I just see her for what she is, a woman who chose her lies over her marriage and her integrity over her conscience. The hardest part was accepting that sometimes you have to let go of what you thought was your future and focus on what's best for your own mental health and happiness. I'm not perfect, and I still have days when I feel angry or sad, but those feelings are less intense now. Time has a way of dulling the pain, but it also helps you gain perspective. I've come to understand that some people are simply not worth the effort of trying to salvage what's broken. This experience has left me more cautious, but also more appreciative of the good things in my life, my family, my friends, my own peace of mind. I don't dwell on the past anymore. Instead, I focus on building a better future for myself. I want to be the kind of person who recognizes red flags early, who values honesty above all, and who refuses to be a victim of someone's lies again. To anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, trust me, you're not alone. It's incredibly painful to discover that someone you loved and trusted has been lying and cheating behind your back. But remember, you're stronger than you think. You have the power to walk away, to rebuild, and to find happiness again. It might take time, and it might be one of the hardest things you'll ever do, but it's worth it. In the end, I've learned that betrayal doesn't define me. My worth isn't measured by someone else's lies or their betrayal. I am still here, still standing, and I am finally moving forward. Because the truth is, if someone cheats and lies in the dark, they don't deserve your love or your trust. You do. And that's what I'll keep reminding myself every day.